2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Social Life. My name is Deanna Miller. I am co-founder, marketing director of Stark Social Media Agency, and with me, as always, is this guy.
I'm here.
This guy, Nathan Imhoff. He is, what's your title this week?
The creative director.
The creative director. Excellent. We are really excited to welcome you back to another episode. We're talking about more social media stuff on this episode of the podcast. Stuffity stuff.
Websites and stuff.
And websites and stuff. If you haven't yet subscribed, what's the URL?
thesociallifepodcast.com.
That's really long. thesociallifepodcast.com. Or if you're just confused, go to our website, starksocial.com, and look for podcasts.
It's true.
Subscribe. Either way, find it. Listen to us all the time.
I don't know about all the time.
All the time.
I would get tired of listening to me.
Like if you're on a plane.
I get tired of listening to me sometimes.
What? I'm sorry. I didn't hear. You said I wasn't listening.
She's got jokes.
I've got mad jokes. We are talking today about how to use social media as a customer service tool. Now, I really, 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 really love using social media as a customer service tool because I think it builds relationships. It builds confidence in your brand. It opens up the door for people to see you managing client interactions.
Right.
It's something I think a lot of people shy away from.
Well, you get a lot of people that I think, they get upset about something and they automatically start railing on you on social media. You got to be able to diffuse that situation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about how to use it. So basically some tips and ideas on what you can do to get started, making sure that you're not just ignoring your audience's questions, because it could just be a simple question and not necessarily a complaint. And if you've noticed recently on your Facebook business pages, not your profile, it has response time
Right.
on those. And basically what that's doing is it's grading you on how active you actually are. And this plays into Facebook's dastardly algorithm.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun. So they're looking for ways to, basically it's Facebook's way of saying, we don't want you to always have to pay for stuff. So we're scoring you
Right.
on how responsive you are, and how responsive you are ends up meaning how much we kind of like you, but
Right.
not really.
You're being judged.
You are being judged.
Judgy pants Facebook
Judgy
is.
pants Facebook. But there's a lot of different social media channels where customer service can come into play.
Yep.
And 85% of the time it's Twitter,
Yes.
because Twitter is much more real time, if you will, in terms of, people expect you to bounce that answer back.
Yeah. So if you are, let's say you are a hotel and you have a bar and you tweet out that you have, this isn't at all a real life story. And you tweet out that you have great happy hour specials and you just happen to be walking distance from
said location.
Yes. And I tweet at you and I ask, what kind of specials do you have? And radio silence for weeks and I still have yet to get a response.
Pro tip, we're going to go someplace else for happy hour.
Yeah.
Just that's how that it's that I mean, that's the kind of thing. Just to name off a couple of businesses that do responsive really well. Some of them are our clients, actually.
Okay, but other than you.
Okay, fine. I'll not brag about our clients because it's me.
Didn't we talk about that in the last episode?
What?
Bragging. We didn't talk about. You can brag on podcasts though. That's totally fine.
That's different. It's totally different. Even though they got bought by Yelp, Eat24.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job.
Super fantastic.
You gotta be, man. People are hungry.
If you're not going to respond,
you don't bring my sandwich in a timely manner. You better have a good reason.
If my Indian food was supposed to be here in 45 minutes and it's not, I better get a response. Gosh darn it.
Yep.
Because
I'm still trying to teach Audio Guru about Eat24. They will bring you food.
I It was, I know, you've got Eat 24. Yeah, I love Eat 24, and they send back the funnest responses when you're like,
your food's going to be in 25 minutes.
It's so fun. And then they do a really good job of customer service. I have to give them props because they do an excellent job, not just on Twitter, but also on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, we disappointed you? Here's a coupon.
Yeah. And they're like, that's fine. It's free. And I'm like, yay, more matar paneer for me next time. But so Eat 24 does a good job. Who else have we noticed? Hilton Hotels does a great job.
Yep.
I had an issue and I was like, I can't find the DoubleTree. There's 2 of them. I don't know which one.
Well, what was that when we were down at Disneyland and they were doing they were giving away stuff?
They were doing
fun.
It was like a special summer thing.
Yeah, it was like random acts of summer.
Random acts of summer, and their hashtag. Great. It was fantastic. And we
just missed it. Like they gave stuff to the table over, and we're like, hey, come back. I want that bag.
But we tweeted about it, and they retweeted us like instantly.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Well done.
Hilton Hotels does a great job, so shout out to them. Who else does a really good job?
And if you're in Anaheim, go to Disneyland. That's the one to go to.
That's the ticket right there. Virgin America.
Well, you love your Virgin.
I've had great experiences with them when I've had like flight delays, or there's been an issue with like my luggage is on somebody else's plane.
It's been 3 years since I accidentally picked Southwest and flew into Oakland. She still brings it up.
Never.
Why didn't we go Virgin into San Francisco? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like 3 years later, I'm like, get over it.
Yeah. Well,
we all make mistakes in life, you know.
It's okay. It's all right.
Whole time
we're like, you.
No. We're going into
really.
We're going into the line, and she's like, look they're herding us in like cattle. She starts like mooing.
Well, because and then I get stuck sitting at the back of the plane.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what is this? I'm at the back of the plane. There's no cushy leather seat. There's no like really nice
free drinks.
Flight attendant bringing me actual free drinks. Not this like, oh, did you want a soda and some really gross pretzels? I hate pretzels. God, unless they're soft pretzels and you have cheesy sauce.
I'm good with pretzels.
That's different. But we want to talk about
customer service.
Let's get off of our stuff about but don't fly Southwest unless you absolutely have to. Drive to LAX, people. So current expectations of the client base in the interwebs, right? People expect they're not going to call 800 numbers. And I get really annoyed with people when I go to whatever. Like I was trying to cancel something 2 or 3 days ago, and a pop-up came up and said, call customer service to cancel. And you have a website. Why can't I just cancel this?
Yeah.
I need to cancel this service. So the expectation of your client base is that they're going to be able to do things online, whether it's your website, your Facebook page, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Google+, Snapchat if you're on it. They're expecting to be able to go online and make these customer service transactions happen. Otherwise, you're likely to get a nasty review somewhere.
Yep.
But that nasty review isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Well, I think if you're a business, you have to use something like Zendesk or Fresh Desk, I think, is another one. But there's other tools that have a listener for social media to help you manage those. A person should be able to interact with your company the way they feel comfortable, and you can't just force them like, oh, I want you to call or I want you to find an email. I mean, sometimes people just automatically go to Twitter. It's easier. Right.
Or, I mean, I think people feel more comfortable if it's after hours, if they have some way to open a ticket.
Right.
Which is something that Zendesk can help you do.
Right.
And they actually integrate really well with a lot of different tools. Like we use FreshBooks for accounting.
Right.
And they integrate with that. So that also allows you to open up a ticket there, and then it's like you get all these different notifications, and that is helpful because maybe you're not on your social media, but you have your emails coming through your phone, and then you can see that email and handle it accordingly.
Right. If someone asks you a question about a product that you sell on Twitter and you ignore them, you're ignoring money, basically.
Right. And I mean, if you're an entrepreneur or a small business, it's totally understandable if it's Saturday afternoon and you're at a movie and you're like, I didn't see that come through. That's fine. But the thing is don't not respond. Because if somebody tweets at your business and says, hey, it's my order is not here, or hey, I can't find this on your website, it's perfectly okay to respond 3 hours later, 4 hours later and say, hey, thanks so much for taking the time to reach out. Why don't you shoot us an email at such and such an email address, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Right.
Because what you want to do is you want to offer the best solution you can at the time. That doesn't mean giving them free stuff or refunding their money, but you want to find out what the issue is, and that's really the client expectation. And if you don't have a Twitter, if you have a Facebook page or a Google Plus, and you have a business that's providing a service where people are paying for something, or they need help desk information, or there's a support issue, like their stuff just crashed and they need help getting it back up.
Right.
You want them to be able to contact you. So you need to make sure your notifications are set up on all your social media channels where people might be able to reach you, or whoever's managing your social, which is something I do for a lot of people.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're responding and understanding what the climate is right now for the customer base out there in the world. Because if somebody writes you a negative review, I was explaining this to someone the other day, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You don't want to panic and freak out and go, how do I delete it? How do I block them?
Yeah.
How do I get rid of them? Because the thing is, we all have grown accustomed to the Yelp mentality.
Right.
That if there's a negative review,
Did you know I'm on Yelp?
Then yeah, it's. I mean, the thing is Yelp has built such a culture of fear around reviews.
Right.
Because if you want to get rid of that review, then the
hustle.
The hustle. And I have worked in day jobs where this was an issue. We've had clients where this was an issue. I actually have, my favorite story is somebody I worked for as their director of marketing, and first day on the job was, how do I fix Yelp? And I said, I don't know. Well, so then we went in and we talked to the Yelp person, and their solution was, pay us this money.
Wink, wink.
For advertising.
Wink, wink.
And it's disconcerting to a business owner that if you have a negative review, the customer service that you're going to get from the place where the review is put is, well, we can help you, but let's do this and this and that, and it costs you money. So I think there's that Yelp has created this fear around reviews.
Well, in our community, we have a guy that everyone affectionately calls Larry from Yelp.
Yes.
And he's a client. We did his site.
Why don't you tell him what
scvfixit.com. Yeah. And so he goes, I'll do a Yelp review. And I was like, no,
we're not even on Yelp.
I don't want to be on Yelp. I don't want to be on Yelp.
No one wants to be on Yelp.
No, thank you.
You shouldn't be. I mean, if you're a business, it's fine, because I know the statistics are still 70% of people who are looking for usually a restaurant, they will go to Yelp. I mean, I know YP has tried to, that's the Yellow Pages for those of you youngsters out there. YP has created an app that is trying to rival Yelp, but I think what they've done is they've created the same kind of construct in terms of paying for advertising, because we claimed our listing on there.
I went on there and they just I mean, literally it was like hit enter and then the phone rings and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Are you guys watching me?
Yeah. But let's talk about why a negative review is not a bad thing.
Okay.
So I had a client, somebody who had attended a training, and when people attend my trainings, I give them, free consultations and tips and things like that. But I had somebody who got a negative review from someone who they ticked off, not even business reasons.
They didn't want to do work with them, right?
Right. They didn't. She asked to be removed from a marketing group.
Right.
And they then went on her Facebook business page and gave her a negative review and said that she wasn't supportive of local businesses and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so my advice on that is if somebody leaves you a negative review on Facebook, no, you cannot delete them. You can report the individual, but what you want to do is you want to respond to that person appropriately. And there's actually a lot of, if you Google it, I'll put some samples on in the show notes and on the blog of how to respond appropriately to a negative review. But what you want to do is you don't want to get into a back and forth fight with them, wrestling around online, because it's just not important. But what you want to do is you want to use that as an opportunity to show potential clients how you handle issues, and you want to handle it calmly. If you need to walk away from it, don't respond immediately. Don't respond when you're hot under the collar, because you can't get rid of it. It doesn't go away. So what you want to do is you want to say, thank you so much for expressing your concern. You can always email me so we can discuss what your issue is, and we'll find an appropriate resolution. So that takes it off of Facebook. People see that you've responded. And then what you're doing is you're just leaving happiness and joy out in the world. And that way, nobody's going to see that and fault you and say, well, they're clearly not handling the issue. And if that person then responds again and is like, you are a horrible, terrible human being, don't respond again.
Well, one of the things that is a big advantage from having a professional handle your social media is that they're not emotionally invested. Somebody comes in and tells you, you're a froyo place. Your froyo is the worst ever. You should be, dragged out in the street and shot. You're going to take personal offense to that and be like, try to tell him why he's wrong.
Totally.
When you get someone else that's just like, okay, this is my client, but I'm not emotionally invested, maybe overreact a little bit,
Right. Right. And that's the thing, is that you also have to be careful is if there's a bad experience within your business. So like we saw a couple things go viral over the summer. There was that lady, I think it was back east, who like yelled at someone in their restaurant because they had a 2-year-old with them that was potentially crying and causing disruption. And then she went on social media and dropped a bunch of F-bombs and B-words because the lady left her a bad review on her Facebook page. And when you're responding like that, you're not instilling that confidence in your client base.
Right.
And you really need to be super careful. And that goes for Twitter and Instagram, because I've seen people who have come to me and said, somebody posted a rant on my Instagram post and now I can't get rid of it, or should I block them? And really the best thing to do is not to ignore it, because other people are going to see it and they're going to be like, well, did they ever respond? They never responded.
Right.
And an interesting statistic is 45% of people who have friends within a social network, they're going to complain to their friend, and 45% of the time, people are going to then jump on you as well because you haven't responded. Dogpile. So we're talking about how to use social media as a customer service tool. We've already talked about client expectations, a couple of our faves. We have some faves. And we have just talked about embracing those negative reviews, making sure that you're not letting them intimidate you, frustrate you, make you angry and grrr. You want to avoid responding emotionally no matter what social media channel it is that you're on. We're going to talk some more about how to use the social media tool, social media as a customer service tool. I've got Nate here with me as always. We're drinking coffee this morning, so it's kind of sad. It's getting cold again, but it's okay. I appreciate the thought. So go ahead, grab another cup of coffee, get a glass of wine. It's the new year, so maybe
Unless
you
you're
have
driving,
leftover
don't get
champagne. Champagne yourselves. Grand mimosa, whatever. Grab a beer. Unless you're driving.
Yeah.
Then pull over.
Don't do that either.
I'm just joking. Come back and join us for the second half of how to use social media as a customer service tool. We'll be right back.
My parents run the best social media company around. Go to starksocial.com today.
Welcome back to The Social Life. As always, I'm here. Me, Deanna. That guy's Nate.
I'm here.
He's here.
I didn't go anywhere.
We are talking about how to use social media as a customer service tool. A lot of people are shy about it. A lot of people think that if they respond, then it's going to make their business look weak, or like their product is not awesome. And that's just simply not the case. It's when you get these opportunities to provide customer service via social media, it really just builds brand confidence from people who are current clients or potential clients, because they're seeing how you handle things. And that's really important, because it's all about reputation. It's all about how people perceive you, your brand, your business.
Right.
And that's really the nuts and bolts of.
Well, I think a lot of people just want to be heard.
Right.
And that's probably the first step, is don't take a deep breath. Don't take it personal.
Right. Take a deep breath, walk away for a minute.
Doesn't matter if you're Starbucks or a small shop. I mean, people just, they expect good service.
Right.
And they feel powerful.
Right. They feel, I mean, that's really the thing, is that you don't necessarily, I think that's one of the things I've heard from a lot of people, is that, we've worked with restaurants in the past on promotions and things like that. And, the stories I've heard is, well, no one said anything. And then I found out when I checked my Yelp or whatever on my Facebook page,
right,
there was this, 3-paragraph diatribe about how horrible the customer service was.
Well, the big problem is, okay, you got somebody that leaves you just a nasty gram. They're awful, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a bad situation, but it gets worse if you go in and you're getting in a tit for tat with them. Now you look worse. Right. Than before. Before, it's just, oh, this guy's a hater.
Right. We talked about it before the break, the lady who owned the cafe, where she was just like going back and forth. But the mistake that she made was in how she responded.
Right.
Because you're really managing those types of things. It's client expectations. They want to be able to get in touch with you. They want a response. They want to feel, like you said, like they're being heard.
Right.
And it really boils down to how you respond and not taking those negative reviews personally. Because 9 times out of 10, there's nothing you could have done in the moment that person was upset to make them feel better.
Right.
But how you respond to the review that they took the time to either sit in the parking lot on their phone or they made it all the way home and they were still hot under the collar.
Well, one story that we heard recently is we have a assemblyman client who went to our little guy's classroom, and he was talking about people that get angry. And obviously we talked about in last week's podcast about politics and people ranting about politics. There's people that go and attack him, and he said that, they would be like, you're awful, you're this, that, and the other, and he would call them.
Right.
And all of a sudden,
right.
Whoa.
Right, because on his website for the state
assembly,
you can put in your phone number.
Right.
And you can request a call or an email or whatever. But he will call people.
He will call and be like, hey, what's going on?
I think that that's fantastic. I love that, because I think what you're doing is you're showing people, A, that you care, and B, that they're valued.
Right.
Because every customer, regardless if you're a political candidate or a real estate agent, an insurance agent, a teacher, whoever you are, every person that you come into contact with is an opportunity to build your sales funnel.
Well, I was saying that because basically he turns somebody who's mad at him into somebody who's a fan.
Right.
Which is an opportunity anytime somebody does that.
Right. Or even if he doesn't change their mind,
right,
they have been impacted in a way that's positive,
right,
versus negative. So, when you're responding to these publicly upset people, and face it, the interwebs is the public now.
Yes.
It's the public audience. It's a public forum.
Place to publicly shame people.
Yeah. And it's just the way that life is now. But when you're responding to these customers, it's far better than trying to ignoring the public outcry and trying to respond privately. Because one of the things, pro tip, Facebook has now split its messenger. So you have people who are your friends, your immediate friends, can message you and you'll see those in Messenger. Or there's an other box.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah. So if you're not friends with someone on Facebook, you send them a message and it will put it in the other box.
Right.
And if you go to your Messenger, it will give you a thing. It'll say, you have one request notification for messaging or whatever. And I don't always see it. So I have to check my other box on a regular basis to make sure that I haven't missed someone who's like, hey, I friended you. Why didn't you friend me back?
Right.
But if you're emailing someone on Facebook through the messenger, they might not get it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about. If you're trying to DM someone on Twitter, if they don't follow you or they haven't clicked on that notification thing or they haven't clicked on the setting in their profile that allows anyone to DM them, DM is a direct message, then they're not going to get it. You can't message them. So you want to take the opportunity to publicly respond because it's the easiest way to start.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed was there was an issue with, I think Delta. I think it was Delta. I don't remember what. It was an airline. But there was an issue with they wouldn't publicly respond to someone about the topic, I think, was breastfeeding in public or something. Oh, no. The lady was trying to carry breast milk onto a flight.
Oh, okay.
And it had been approved. She had an email that was like certified and everything.
But then the TSA give her a hard time.
But then
'cause it's over
TSA
the
wouldn't let her
certain amount.
take it. So she was trying to, find somebody that could help her for whatever airline it was. And she ended up having to throw all her stuff away
Oh.
because no one wanted to. They were like, oh, send an email or call us. And she's there in the appropriate amount of time for her flight. But, I'm standing here waiting. Now I'm going to be late for my flight. I've been away from my baby.
Right.
And it's like one of those issues where just take the opportunity to publicly respond, even if the person isn't getting the response that they want, because we've seen that happen.
Well, I know when you're talking about that, I had a really good experience with it's Server Press. It's called. It's a software that allows you to run WordPress on a.
Sounds fancy.
It's nerdy stuff. Anyways, I couldn't get it to load.
It's nerdy stuff.
And we
so I wouldn't know about it. Not that kind of nerd.
So, I couldn't get it to load. I went on Twitter and said, hey, I can't get this to load. And they gave me two options. They said, either email this guy or send us your email. We'll email you. I got this guy, and he got on the phone with me, and he couldn't figure it out why it was not going. He got another guy, and in their case, he said we got to figure out if there's a problem because other people are going to have this problem.
Right.
And
I love that stuff.
And he took care of it, and it worked. And I was like, wow, guys, one of the best experiences.
I think that's fantastic. I love when you have those kinds of stories to share because one of the things that's really hard in the tech world and with a lot of the things that we deal with is I had a billing issue with one of my favorite tools, and I can't get a response to save my life. I love the tool, but it took 48 hours for someone to get back to me.
Aye.
And that is frustrating because it's a social media tool, people.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
So I'm, putting in a ticket, no response. I'm, tweeting at them on Twitter, no response. And then, clearly it was the weekend.
Right.
But if you have a social media tool, I kind of expect you to respond to me on social media.
Imagine that.
Maybe that's my own problem.
Well,
I'll work that out.
If you're a social media tool, it's like having a social media agency that never tweets.
Right. But you want to make sure that you have the right tools on your website. You have the right tools on your blog, whatever it is you're running. So if you need to manage support tickets, you offer a service. We've talked about Zendesk. You want to find a CRM that maybe has the ability to set up ticketing on your website.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different CRMs. Some of them are inexpensive. Some of them are costly. I know there are a lot of people, when I talk about CRMs and trainings, are asking a lot of times, do you use Salesforce? That's pretty pricey.
Right.
So if you have that in the budget, you can find whatever tool fits your needs. I know that they all offer a different variety of different things.
Right.
And it's hard. There's
so many.
There's so many. And I caution to recommend just one because most of them have like a 7-day or a 14-day trial.
Right.
But if you have a customer or client who has an issue, you want to find a way to respond to them and get them into your sales funnel. If you are managing your automation marketing through like a MailChimp, they have a bunch of integrations. So whatever integrates with, your email automated tool, we love MailChimp. You can see what integrates easily with them, and then you can test those out.
That's usually what I look for first when I'm looking at
Right. What works best with your stuff.
What integrations does this service offer? And if it doesn't interact with a bunch of our stuff, then it's probably not going to be a winner. Right.
So I had a client that I started working with. They've been around. We've all been together now for 3-4 years. But they had a website that was on one certain type of tool. And then we did something else, like their CRM was on a different type of tool, and they didn't all work together. And so luckily it wasn't a super difficult migration over to something that worked really well.
Right.
But you basically want to look for, if you have a WordPress website, you want to find things that integrate well with that website. Then whatever automation you're putting together, if you're doing a drip email marketing campaign through MailChimp, you want to make sure that whatever you're using works really well with them. And we've done this a few times, so we have experience with making these mistakes.
Yeah.
Where it's but that looks really cool, but it doesn't integrate with that. So I have to download it, and then I have to upload it.
Yeah.
And then it ends up costing more time than is necessary.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. MailChimp's good for some marketing automation. I mean, once you get into really in depth into it, you're going to want to probably use something else.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But for regular mail, it's great.
Yeah. But I think if you're growing, you just find whatever tools integrate best with what you're already using.
Right.
So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Yeah. Once you figure out your process, then you can find a tool and are making more sales.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I like to do when I'm working with my clients and reviews come through is I like to put together automatic responses. So I sort of create a script or a dialogue for each different client. And I do this in Evernote because not every single client has the same type of business, so it doesn't garner the same response.
Right.
So, for example, we work with a property management company. So when people are leaving reviews, let's say on Google+, because that seems to be the big hot place for people to leave reviews. If you Google a business and they've claimed they're my business, then if you go on that, people are tending to go there and write reviews. So I would find a place, whether it's, just keeping Word documents on your computer, you're in Evernote, you're putting together a Dropbox folder for your team. Come up with some scripts and dialogues for responses that the entire team can use. So if you're going to be out of the office, or you've got a partner, or you've got somebody who's helping you manage your social media, they know how to appropriately respond. And you can set up different scenarios, like, angry customer who got overbilled, or, angry customer whose product isn't working. So you set up different scenarios, and what that does is that informs whoever it is that's managing the social media that weekend on the best responses. And that, to me, while 9 times out of 10, you might not have the best response for everybody.
Right.
Because everybody's different.
Yeah, but you're going to see some of the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah. You
don't need to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah. Don't sit there and go, I wonder what I should say to this person. Appropriately assess the situation, and then it's okay to use a canned response.
Right.
Nobody is going to be angry at you because you're like, hey, how are your kids? And I want to make you happy.
Well, it works better if you really got somebody who's being a jerk.
Yeah, because you're just
don't go off script. Even if you're sending this nice email through your grit teeth.
That's one of I think that's the biggest tips that I can give is you want to assess the situation appropriately. You want to respond accordingly to the client's expectations. You want to make sure that you're putting together scripts and dialogues that are scenario based, so that you're constantly responding in a way that allows you to streamline what the expectation is of the client. So if somebody goes to your Twitter and they see that this is customer service response, they're going to view you as professional.
Right.
Versus
if you ignore them.
Yeah.
Like that bar.
He's very upset about that.
Well, I'm trying to give him business.
I know.
I'm irritated.
I know. We can walk
Convince me, man.
We can walk there. Their happy hour menu does look good, though.
Where is it?
It's online.
Oh, well, they could have sent it to me.
Guy who designs websites didn't look online. I'm just going to point that out really quick.
Whatever.
Audio Guru thinks it's funny.
Oh, he's got jokes.
He's got mad jokes. So this is a really important topic for me because I deal with a lot of customer service issues for clients, not necessarily for us. Everybody loves us.
Yes.
Right? So if you are dealing with any type of customer service issues, you want to make sure that you have a plan or a strategy in place. There's a lot of different ways that you can manage or deal with them. So we've already talked about why it's important to respond to customers' expectations. Go ahead and embrace those negative reviews, right?
Well, they're opportunities.
It's
You
opportunities.
could win someone over. They could be a big fan after that.
I mean, I think that's really the thing is one of the that I teach all the time is don't be scared.
Right.
It could be somebody that ends up
You literally have nothing to lose at that point,
being
right?
a raving fan.
You have a negative review.
Right.
What, are they going to make it worse? You already got it on there.
Yeah, it's not going to make it worse. Why it's important to respond publicly instead of trying to avoid that public response. A lot of the social media tools don't allow you to respond in private based on the security settings of whoever it is that they have. Whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's a lot easier to just respond publicly and ask them to take it offline. So that way you're responding and you're not shying away from it because people will think that you're just ignoring them. So don't ignore this stuff.
Well, if you have reasonable people and they see like this guy's going on a rant and then the business responds with a very, very nice response.
Sure.
And then, the other person goes and starts being a jerk, then a reasonable person is going to read that and go like, okay, this is just one of those people.
Yeah.
Totally.
No. And I think that the last thing I want to point out is it's a learning experience for everybody. Because what you can do is you might find chinks in the chain.
Chinks in the armor, you mean?
Whatever. Potato, tomato. Chinks in the chain. The chain has a chink.
A weak link.
Weak link.
There you go.
Gosh, critics over here. I'm going to leave you a negative review. I think it's a learning experience though, because you can look at your strategy. You can look at maybe there's something wrong with your website. Maybe there's something wrong with the product that you're offering.
Right.
Maybe there's a better way to handle your customer service altogether. I'm not just talking about using social media as a response tool, but maybe there's, maybe you completely tested your website. You completely tested your sales process, but there's something you didn't account for. It's a great way to audit your process and find maybe there's a monkey wrench somewhere that needs to be pulled out.
A monkey wrench.
I don't know.
There could be a monkey wrench in the machine. Well, the thing with most companies' websites is the first thought is we want to get sales. So it's sale front and not customer service front. So somebody comes there and it's like, all right, I'm already a customer, so sometimes they can't find how to get help. So that's why they turn to things like social media. I mean, I know it's frustrating. You're like, why do they always got to rant about it on Facebook or why do they got to rant about it on Twitter?
Or your homepage is confusing.
Right.
Maybe it's
try to get help.
It's an opportunity to update and learn and change and grow. And that is, I think, for any business, I think that's ideal. It's ideal. So don't be scared. Don't get offended. Don't be frustrated. Don't be angry. Take a minute, have a glass of wine, crack open a beer, and think about your strategy. Not wine and beer at the same time. I mean,
we're not animals.
Just, maybe wait in 45 minutes. It's like swimming.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. So we have been talking about how to use social media as a customer service tool. We've been sharing some of our experiences, some tips and ideas on how you can better manage it. Also, we had some favorites.
Yes.
That we talked about. Eat 24, Hilton Hotels.
Server Press.
Server Press are excellent. Ooh, Evernote is another one I love.
Evernote.
Evernote's a good one. I have some other, next Festivus, I'll air some grievances about ones that don't have.
Airing our grievances. It's not even Festivus.
It's not, but I'm saving them up for next Festivus.
Hey, shout out to Audio Guru for troubleshooting this and getting rid of that buzz that was going on. It was really irritating.
Much.
He's the best.
Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of The Social Life. Make sure you subscribe, thesociallifepodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Search Stark Social. We've got a Facebook page. You can go there too and like us.
YouTube.
Quick tips and information and fun stuff. Thanks so much. We will be back next time with another installment of The Social Life. Maybe we'll have some guests. We've got some people I want to drag in here and have chitter-chatter about stuff.
In here.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.
See ya.